powers and principalities.
There's so much fire inside me.
Tragedy struck when part of the largest hillside at the kosher rubbish dump collapsed.
It's going to be fun to see how he goes about approaching this game.
We table issues relating to the arts and entertainment for a riveting discussion, of course, without fear nor favor.
The question the presenter asked them was a dumb question. You need to speak the fact and move.
Varied views. We agree to disagree.
So I would disagree with everything you said. I think that he's a smart guy. I think what he did.
No, but I also said he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm waiting for the what next.
Yeah, I don't think that we have to wait for what next.
It sometimes gets confrontational, but that's the beauty of the game.
Today you deny funny face. It's not my brother. Today you deny funny face. I don't know him. You don't know funny face. It's not my brother. You don't know funny face.
It's a package. We meet, we sit, we dialogue, we learn, we progress. My name is Benefo Huabin Abrantepa, a proud blogger, and this is my forum.
So Laurie Lawson and I decided to go quad biking, and we found a page on Instagram called ATV Ebri that organizes quad biking. It took us about an hour drive from Accra. The best part of the journey is the beautiful landscape you see while on your trip. So guys, this is us. We've been using the off-road. Even though I drive a small car, there is nobody in sight at the moment, and guess what, we are stuck there. We don't know, this is a stream. I don't know if I should cross and get stuck because it looks very slippery, as you can see from here. So the only thing is either Laurie walks in it and tests
why don't you?
the water, or me, because I'm the one driving and she doesn't have a choice. So she's taking off her shoes. She crosses to see if it's not deep. If it's not deep, there we go. If not, then I don't know, because we are like how many minutes away? About like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. A motor guy. Bet me a call. Can't name to me go. This is disasters of a trip. Guys, guess what? I have a flat tire. And we are stuck here waiting for them. So they are finally here to pick us. Hi, hello. We're stuck. Thank you. Reflector checked, helmet checked, costume checked. So guys, do you remember where we got stuck? This is the place we got stuck. Yeah, so we are finally here. This is how the space looks like. So we are going to be giving a little tips and brief about everything, how everything is going to be like. So stay tuned as we relax here. How do you feel, Lori?
Oh, I feel good. I can't wait to experience the whole biking experience.
So flat tie or no flat tie, we are doing.
Quad biking is a huge amount of fun. Adrenaline pumping, huge excitement. However, we should not forget that those are essentially motor vehicles and we've got to treat them with respect. With that in mind, there are a number of rules that we insist on for all our customers who come here. The first rule is no overtaking. And I'll explain why when we look at the terrain. The second rule is do not, under any circumstances, use your telephone to take pictures or do selfies whilst you're riding. The third is about braking distance, making sure that there is a safe braking distance between you and the person in front. So don't go and tarry somebody's talk. That's totally out of the question. The fifth is about members of the community. And for that, what we're saying is you can wave at the kids and whatever, but please do not stop to chat to them or touch any of them. Yeah? And the final one is when you take our quad bikes out, you've got to follow the instructions of the lead rider. In addition to that, do not under any circumstances leave your quad bike alone and go walk about. If you want to take pictures or whatever, they will stop for you. But throughout, you're not alone. You're accompanied by 2 of my people at all times, one at the front, one at the back. We're all in constant radio contact, so we know precisely where you are, what's happening, etc.
So she just taught us how to ride the bike, the basic steps in learning how to. It's very easy. You shouldn't be able to ride a bike to even know how to ride. Once you listen to her, it's very easy to understand. So Lori is on her lesson now. I just finished with my lesson, and so I passed the check, so I'm good to go. My camera on his head. All right, let's go. Yeah. So he said we should be a bit faster. So we are about to go. Let's go, guys.
She has to be at my back because she can't ride.
She can't ride well.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, you see, I'm the real MVP of adventure. He says Lori has to be behind him because Lori is taking time in riding. And since I'm good, obviously. He's lying. Yeah. I'm good. I'm good. Wait. We are on the break now, and so far it's been so exciting. Lori is here to climb up, videos? So, you didn't take videos? Oh, so yeah. Yeah, so far so good. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. So guys, this scene is lorry falling down and come, are you hurt? Yeah. You're hurt? Oh, come on, lorry is fine. We are yet to go. So yeah, we go. At this spot and we are heading towards the waterfall now. The waterfall is called Bugom Waterfalls, but this experience has been fun. It has been I'm out of words, because if you are an off-road person and you want to experience the Ghana off-road life, my dear, please, you need quad biking in your life because it's really fun. It's really, I thought I was going to be dirty, but I still look clean. And so yeah, let's go to the waterfall. One thing I like about exploring waterfalls in Ghana is the fact that you see greens even before you get to your destination. Guys, just listen to the sound. I'm sure you can even hear the sound of the waterfall already. Listen closely. Yeah, so far. Hey, you can see some KK party. Hey, should we join you? Should we join you? Do you want to be on camera? But there's some kinky party going on. Shy, sir. After the waterfall, we'll come and join them to eat. Yeah, Kwaba. So yeah, those are some guys who just came to chill and they are having a break, a smoke break, and also chilling. Guys, look at this. This is beautiful. This is really beautiful. Whoa! The waterfall is mad! Mad! Beautiful. Oh my goodness. But too bad I can't fly the drone because I am so scared I will lose my drone. Look at this. Wow. Would you take off your shoes?
to it, but it was so fun. I absolutely enjoyed it. Larry, your turn.
Social inequalities reduced. Romania fully supports the European Union's leading efforts on climate change and is committed to contribute to the EU overall 55% emission reduction by 2030. We have already achieved this reduction rate nationally, and we are committed to keep cutting. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no silver bullet against climate change. A set of interconnected measures can help us deliver. We will harness the very force of nature. Romania has a solid share of renewable energy in its energy mix, with 40% of our electricity coming from renewable sources. We are committed to expand this share. We will fight climate change with nature-based solutions, using 57,000 hectares of new forests in our recovery plan to capture carbon and combat desertification. We also need to channel the force of people in addressing climate change. Education is key to environmentally friendly behavior. We must advance education and research on climate change. Starting in 2023, Romania will host an innovative World Meteorological Organization Center that will help agricultural systems in Europe to better respond to climate change. The impact of climate change has no national borders. Let's join our forces in protecting the environment, making sure we leave future generations a greener and a safer planet. There is no time to lose. The time for action is now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, President of Guyana. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the fate of civilization resides in the decisions we make here in Glasgow. The climate issue and crisis has given us an ultimatum. Either we take immediate and drastic action, or subject ourselves to an infernal global disaster. Indifference and inaction will be costly. Already, we are far behind in limiting temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The coming decade, therefore, must be the decade of decisive action. Climate change affects us all, rich, poor, developed and developing states. But its effects are more severe on the poorest and most vulnerable, especially small island developing states and low-lying coastal states. For us, it is a question of survival. We can use this summit to change the present trajectory. Immediate action is needed on three fronts. First, we must set more ambitious goals to reduce emissions, and we must honor to the letter those ambitions. All countries have an obligation to act, but the world's foremost polluters have a greater duty to institute steeper emissions cut. Second, the pledge of US $100 billion per annum made 1 decade ago to support climate action must be met. Dishonored pledges are a recipe for disaster. Third, forests constitute a powerful arsenal in the fight against climate change. Forest-rich countries must be provided with the incentives necessary to keep their forests intact and to reduce deforestation and forest degradation. Mindful that deforestation contributes 16% to annual global emissions, and in recognition of the ecosystem and climate services provided by forests, it is imperative that we finalize the rules for carbon markets and REDD+, so as to properly value tropical forests and the climate services which they provide. My country, Guyana, is already playing its part in addressing climate change and will continue to do so. We'll maintain our forests, almost the size of England and Scotland combined, storing 20 gigatons of carbon as a global asset. We'll work with local communities in conserving, protecting, and sustainably managing our forests, biodiversity, and freshwater supplies. We'll decouple economic growth and emissions through a progressively cleaner energy mix with the aim of reducing our carbon emissions by 70% by 2030. We'll invest in low-carbon opportunities for jobs, ecosystem services, social inclusion through an expanded low-carbon development strategy. We are at a historic moment in our civilization. History must not judge us as having only counted our losses. It must instead herald our effort to confront one of our planet's greatest threats, climate change. In this regard, Guyana is prepared to work with the international community for collective action. We support the position of CARICOM and are aligned with the Alliance for Small Island States, AOSIS, the Community of Latin America and Caribbean States, CELAC, the Letitia Pact, the Dhaka-Glasgow Declaration, and the Glasgow Leaders' Declaration on Forests and Land Use, among others. Though we recently became an oil producer, we support the removal of subsidies from fossil fuel production and advocate a strong global carbon price. Let future generations say, when it mattered the most, we made a difference. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Gitanas Nausėda, President of Lithuania. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Lithuania is committed to be a part of the global solution. As nature is declining at unprecedented rate, it is time for us to come together as a humankind. Big and small, north and south, rich and poor, we must all change our ways and stop the climate crisis that leads to biodiversity loss and threats to public health. Lithuania knows that crises come with opportunities. We know the power of change. We know very well the power of change. 10 years ago, we transformed our heating sector by switching from natural gas to sustainable indigenous biomass. We kept more money in the people's pockets, and we also reduced pollution emissions while staying competitive. Today, Lithuania strongly supports international and European Union climate change goals. We have already reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 58%. Our plan, endorsed by the Parliament, is to go further, to decrease greenhouse gas emissions by 70% by 2030, compared to 1990 levels, and to cover at least 50% of our electricity needs from renewables. The whole Lithuanian economy will be climate neutral by 2050. As fossil fuel prices are reaching new highs, I see new opportunities. The Paris Agreement, together with the digitization drive, form a clear roadmap to achieve ambitious goals. New partnerships must be forged, both locally and internationally. That is why I called on Lithuanian municipalities, businesses, industries, NGOs, and every Lithuanian to join the Green Lithuania Declaration. My country also encourages closer regional cooperation and joint Baltic states' actions to tackle climate change and the deterioration of the Baltic Sea, and to better preserve the nature. As a global community, we should rethink the ways we produce and consume. For the industry production to leave no CO2 footprint, it needs to move closer to consumer markets. We should also pay more attention to compliance with the highest environmental and nuclear standards. Our technological shift should be sustainable and environmentally friendly. Fellow leaders, we all hold keys to the better future. Let us use them for global welfare. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Haji Jainjob, President of Namibia. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, distinguished delegates, climate change and the worsening ecological crisis obey no sovereign boundaries. COP26 is the international community's last chance to collectively overcome the disconnect between a divided international system and a global calamity that threatens us all. Namibia is taking transformative steps towards honoring this responsibility. Along with the world, Namibia is experiencing widespread and devastating impacts on key facets of our civilization, including severe droughts to devastating field fires, destroying large tracts of our agricultural land adversely, impacting livelihoods, human health, and well-being. for COP negotiations. There are critical objectives that are crucial to protect us all from the impacts of runaway climate change, breakdown of the biosphere, and the death of the world oceans. It is hard to overstate the urgency and consequences of getting this right. Namibia is committed to the following objectives for COP26. 1, we aim for a conclusion and adoption of the robust Article 6 at COP26. This critical step would provide the bedrock of an international carbon market mechanism necessary to drive funds to the places where emissions can be cut most effectively, to mobilize large-scale private investment for climate action, and to drive crucial innovation. Article 6 cannot wait for another COP. 2, Namibia supports the United Nations Secretary General's push to, quote-unquote, consign coal to history. Namibia will support the phasing out of coal in our region by significantly scaling up solar and wind energy to support domestic demand, whilst working with our neighbors to responsibly phase out existing coal generation in Southern African power pool, and transform our region's energy map. This is the single most important step to keeping Paris Agreement to 1.5 degrees. In our support for scaling up climate finance, we call for 100 million target for climate finance needs to be surpassed at the target, with a clear roadmap on how the commitment amounts will be delivered. We ask for an increased volume of grants rather than loans to make it possible for emerging economies carrying the high debt burdens to kickstart transformative projects. Namibia has amplified its 2015 pledge in a national determined contributions. We now aspire to reduce our emissions by 91% before the end of this decade. These ambitions are matched by the highest level of political commitment. The green and blue economy, including green hydrogen industry, are cornerstones of our Harambee Prosperity Plan, launched March this year. Green economy initiatives such as our Southern Corridor Development Initiative will drive more sustainable post-COVID recovery. Tomorrow, we will announce how Namibia is unlocking our 5,700 square kilometers in our Karas region for the potential development of green hydrogen and ammonia assets, expected to double the region's employment and triple the installed renewable energy generation capacity for the entire country. We are taking these bold steps to enhance our energy security, carbonize our country, assist our regional and global peers to reduce their emissions and build a more resilient economy. The impacts of climate change continue to accelerate and deepen. In this context, we call on other countries to show the highest level of ambition and commitments possible. In closing, Namibia urges all COP negotiators to facilitate the Paris rulebook, take meaningful action in areas of consigning coal to history, lay the foundations of international carbon markets, and honor and exceed financial commitment made. I grew up praying for the serenity to accept the things I could not change, so to courage to change the things in my control, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. Climate change is something we can all change. Let's muster courage and do that. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Egilis Levits, President of Latvia. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Mr. President, distinguished delegates, let me begin by thanking the United Kingdom and Prime Minister Boris Johnson for leadership as our host and co-president of COP26. It has been 6 years since we all took up commitments in Paris. We know that collectively we are not on track to meet them. There is no time to lose. Keeping the 1.5 degrees target within reach is a must. It is a minimum that COP26 should deliver. My country, Latvia, is no exception in experiencing the increasing effects of climate change. Within almost 500 kilometers of coastline, we are keenly aware of coastal erosion risks. Extreme climate-related incidents in Europe are becoming more common. Latvia contributes only 0.02% of world greenhouse gas emissions. Yet we will uphold our commitments in this field at the national level, within the European Union and in the UN framework. Mitigation efforts are urgently needed. This is a common task of national governments, international organizations, public and private sectors, our societies. Each individual is a crucial stakeholder. We must persuade our national constituencies that going green can bring greater prosperity and security. A new mindset is required. Changes in our behavior and a transition to a green economy are in long-term interests of humankind. All too often, support for climate-friendly policies is in words only. To a certain extent, I observe this in my country too. We like to believe we are naturally green-minded. True, a high percentage of Latvia's energy mix comes from renewables. More than half of our land is covered by forest. Our greenhouse gas emissions per capita have decreased by more than a third since 1990. Yet, I often mean resistance to proactive steps that would decrease our reliance on fossil fuels. There is still much to be done, especially in the fields of energy, transport and agriculture. While we work towards limiting climate change, adaptation is also essential. Necessary changes may create social challenges. Certain individuals, groups and nations will be in the short and medium term suffer losses. The concerns of those who mistrust and refuse to accept the climate agenda must be answered. In order to promote reform, it is necessary to create mechanisms which would at least partially offset their losses. Crucially, such mechanisms